They wanted $500 for what they claimed was an unauthorized dog structure. I looked up from the notice to the modest wooden shelter I had just built for my daughter Emma's rescue dog, Rusty. Then I glanced across the street at Patricia Hawthorne's sprawling mansion, an eyesore stitched together from what used to be two separate lots. Every window was ablaze with light, and I could count at least 3 new additions since I'd moved in 5 years ago. Something about that view made my jaw tighten. My name is Daniel Porter. I'm a single dad, former carpenter, now a project manager. When Emma spent months begging to adopt a dog, I finally gave in. We brought home Rusty, a sweet golden retriever mix who'd spent far too long in a shelter. He deserved better than sleeping on concrete. So I built him a doghouse. Not a slapdash job, but a small, charming structure that matched our home's cedar siding and green trim. 4 feet tall, topped with matching shingles, it blended seamlessly with the yard. The very next day, Patricia Hawthorne marched over in designer heels and a clipboard. She introduced herself, unnecessarily, as the HOA vice president, though everyone in Oakwood Heights knew who she was. Her mansion was infamous. She walked around Rusty's house like a food critic at a fast food joint, making notes and humming disapproval. Then came the lecture. My doghouse violated Article 7, Section 3 of the Architectural Uniformity Code. According to her, all outdoor structures required prior written approval from the Architectural Committee, of which she was, of course, the chair. I tried to reason with her, explaining this was just a shelter for our rescue dog. She interrupted mid-sentence with rehearsed sympathy and said, "The rules apply to everyone equally." I was given 7 days to remove the structure or pay a $500 fine. Retroactive approval? She smiled thinly. Next meeting's in 6 weeks. The math was simple. Tear it down or cough up the cash. That night, I sat at the kitchen table reading the notice while Emma played with Rusty outside. Through the window, I saw Patricia's home. A truck pulled up around 9 p.m., and workers began unloading what looked like marble slabs. At that hour? Over the following days, I watched. More late-night deliveries, sawdust in the air, hammers at midnight. A new structure rose behind her house, hidden behind landscaping. Something wasn't right. At the county records office, I requested building permits for Patricia's address over the past 10 years. The file was thin. 1 permit for a bathroom remodel 8 years ago. Nothing for the sunroom, the garage expansion, or what looked like a backyard guest house. As a carpenter, I knew those additions weren't minor. They required permits, inspections, and board approvals. So I documented everything. My morning jogs turned into reconnaissance runs. From public sidewalks, I snapped photos and recorded notes. The evidence was indisputable. The sunroom had to be at least 800 square feet. The garage violated setback laws. The guest house had utilities, making it an unpermitted secondary dwelling, a major zoning violation. I compiled it all into a formal complaint with annotated photos and relevant code citations. The county took it seriously. Within a week, 2 inspectors arrived at Patricia's property. I watched her trail after them, visibly agitated, her voice carrying across the street. 3 hours later, they left, clipboards full, cameras packed. The next morning, a bright orange stop work order was posted on her gate. 3 days later, the HOA called an emergency meeting. News of Patricia's violation spread like wildfire. The community center was packed. People I'd only ever seen walking their dogs or watering their lawns filled the room. Everyone had a story. Margaret Sullivan, 70, recounted a $200 fine for planting coral roses instead of red, even though the rules only said warm-colored. Robert Delgado had been fined for a mailbox that was 2 inches too tall, while Patricia's was 4 inches over regulation. Jennifer Park shared how her wind chimes were deemed disruptive, even as Patricia blasted symphonies every evening. Tom Bradley got a violation for his kids' sidewalk art being visual clutter, while Patricia's front lawn resembled a museum of gaudy statues. Patricia tried to defend herself, claiming she had verbal approvals from a former board president. The room erupted. Someone shouted, "Verbal approvals aren't worth the paper they're not printed on." Another neighbor reminded everyone that the former president was her brother-in-law, who had conveniently moved out of state after approving her sunroom. The board called for order. Then came the vote. It was unanimous, except for Patricia's own vote. She was removed from the board. Her face turned all shades of red as the board president announced all pending fines, including mine, would be reviewed and likely dismissed. Patricia stormed out. I went home and finished Rusty's house with Emma. We added little flower boxes and painted cheerful flowers on them. The next week, the newly reformed HOA passed a resolution allowing decorative pet shelters under 60 square feet without requiring permits. Emma beamed when Rusty's house was featured in the HOA newsletter as a model of community pride. But Patricia's problems were just starting. A neighbor who worked in the county tax office hinted she may have claimed homestead exemptions on both lots. Insurance fraud investigators got involved after reports she'd filed storm damage claims for buildings that weren't permitted. The state contractors board launched its own probe when it came to light that her workers weren't licensed. Jim Fitzgerald, who lived 2 doors down, revealed Patricia had been running an illegal B&B out of her guest house, listing it online as a luxury suite. He even had screenshots of the listing, complete with interior photos. The county added illegal business operations in a residential zone to her list of violations. Her property, once pristine, now looked abandoned, a construction graveyard. The stop work order remained. The exposed framework of the guest house began to rot in the elements. Legal fees mounted as she tried to get retroactive permits. The county was unmoved, especially after discovering unapproved basement renovations that had compromised load-bearing walls. The final blow? The county forced her to subdivide her property due to zoning violations when she combined 2 lots without properly rezoning. Her lawyer, seen leaving her house with boxes of files, was heard in a cafe saying it was the worst case he'd handled in 30 years. At the next community meeting, Patricia sat in the back, unrecognizable in a wrinkled tracksuit. The county rep calmly listed her offenses: zoning infractions, unpermitted construction, tax fraud investigations, illegal business operations. Total estimated fines and penalties? $275,000. The room went silent. Then came the mention of possible criminal charges. Patricia stood up, trembling, and pointed at me. "You ruined my life over a stupid doghouse." She stumbled out in tears. That was the last time anyone saw her at an HOA meeting. 3 weeks later, a "For Sale by Bank" sign appeared on her front lawn.